This is week 4 of Inside Blitz NFL. I'm here with Ron and Ted. We sell you nothing. We don't waste your time. We're going to talk football. We're going to have some player and owner interviews or comments. We're going to talk about the game tonight, and then we're going to talk about some of the other games. We're going to have some viewer Q&A, and I'm going to toss it over to you, Theodore. I feel like I'm touching greatness, just handing it off to you.
Thank you so much. And it's nice to hear for once that we're not going to waste anybody's time. That's the first time I've heard that. Ron, I heard you had a pretty good weekend there. Slim pickings, but good pickings.
Yep, just 2 games before kickoff. The ones we actually touched upon last week, the Ram game, kind of started even a week ago Tuesday when I was brainstorming with Cris what to do about that game, how to assess the injuries. And by the time we rolled around last Thursday, I had an idea that the Rams were undervalued. They'd been looking for that spot. The 49ers, then George Kittle went out. It was all really good. And the other game was the Eagle game that we all talked about, over compensation regarding the Eagles' loss against Atlanta. And then the typical go against John Harbaugh at halftime. He's leading 21-6. You take the points with Dallas, a good offensive team against Baltimore. It gets to 28-6, so it's even worse. But then at the end of the game, they take care of business, cover the second half. And that was it for last week.
Is that pretty much your weekly play, though, the Harbaugh thing? Just play second half, and then the rest of the games are just sort of throwaways.
I forgot about it one of the first weeks, and I was kicking myself, but I did not forget last week. There's just no way I can pass that up when you have an offensive-minded team going against Baltimore.
I forgot all about it.
Yeah, and you ought to be ashamed, Cris. You know better. Come on.
I have no more room for any more shame.
Okay. Well, I was at the Rams-Niners game and got some really good post-game sound. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was not the game itself, the way it ended as far as the spread was concerned, but the way the game was formed. In the first half, it was total San Francisco domination. And at halftime, I pretty much said, I think the final here is going to be 27-10 San Francisco, because the lines were dominating in this game. It wasn't even close. As a matter of fact, we were all joking about how Purdy was sitting back there saying, I could write an old-fashioned letter just looking around for somebody open. I don't know how much of that game you actually watched, but he had all day to throw and for quite a while. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And San Francisco had 6 drops in the game, which obviously was a huge difference in it. And one of them was the last one that cost the game. Otherwise, it would have been a win, would have been a 3-point win, and you would have covered, which would have been fine too, right? But your guy, Josh Carty, took care of biz. He was perfect, extra points and field goals. And the funny inside story was that I went down to the field before the game, and I saw him. He was standing over at the sidelines for about a minute, and I yelled at him, hey, Josh. He looked over and said hello, and I said, are you good to go? Because he was questionable with a groin injury, right? And he said, yeah, I'm good. And he stuck his thumb up. I'm all good, and let it go from there. I said, great. I went up to the press box. The first thing I heard coming out of the elevator was on the out list today is Josh Carty. It's like, we just told me he was going. Now they're saying he's out. So I had no idea what was going on. And we kept looking at him, and he was warming up on the sideline, and he had his uniform on and all that kind of good stuff. But he played, and he played extremely well. And I did a one-on-one with him, and I wanted to get your thoughts on the kicking situation right now, as far as kickoffs are concerned. I asked Josh about that, and his punter who was sitting next to him in the room, and he chimed in for a second. Your thoughts on the first 3 weeks on what we have seen in that kickoff rule, guys, both.
I'm sorry, it's my ineptitude. Here we go.
First of all, how much fun was that to be a part? This is one of the most improbable wins in a long time.
That was a lot of fun.
Josh.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really happy to do it with the guys. Everyone around here is really deserving of the win, and we really need that.
Yeah,
it's a lot
big
of fun.
time. You think about it, you're about to fall 0-3 if it doesn't happen. I mean, that's
yeah.
a whole different season.
1-2 is a lot different than 0-3.
Exactly.
So,
but what is it like to finally get a chance to have a game on the line with your foot too, though?
Yeah, my adrenaline was pumping. I'll tell you that. Was working through a little bit of stuff during the week with my groin and whatnot, and I'll tell you, nothing's a true healer like adrenaline is at the end of a game.
I bet. So I was going to ask you before, and whatever happened. So how have you adjusted to this crazy kickoff rule, and what you guys need to do, even though you weren't kicking off today?
Yeah, I say you're asking the wrong guy.
No, but I mean in general.
In general, yeah. I mean, I think in general, I got to check the statistics, but I don't think the touchback percentages have gone down since last year.
Exactly.
It's 80?
8%.
8%? Well, that was only week 1. 1 and 2?
Okay.
That's Ethan Evans, the punter.
I think teams will start to figure out
in the background.
not to hit, to the return still.
Right. Well, what I've been told is that there's a pretty decent chance they're going to move it to the 35 than the 30.
30?
From the 30 to the 35. So at least it's got to be some penalty on it, right?
They should move the kickoff from the 35 to the 30,
yes.
in my opinion.
Yes. And then, but have the penalty go to the 35. So that way,
You mean touchback?
The touchback, right? So that way,
That would make things different.
incentive, right?
But, I mean, then everyone's going to be starting the drives on the
Exactly.
35-yard line. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, well, then don't kick it out, then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that's Josh Carty. Ethan Evans is the one who the punter is the one who kicked off afterwards. Chris is shaking his head.
Way to get in his pants there. We needed to hear about his groin.
There was nothing about his groin. He kicked perfect and he played. And he says, I'm good to go next week too, whatever happens. He thought it was weird seeing his name on an injured list. He's not used to that. Anyway, what do you think, guys?
Well, I think, interestingly enough, they're looking at the percentages like we are on the fly. They mentioned that week 1, 80% and so on. So they're keeping tabs of this too. Everybody's learning, including those organizations that are experimenting with kicking deep and not kicking deep. And I'm sure they're still practicing those line drive kicks and a lot of stuff week in and week out.
Yeah, but how much of the time do you just expect I'm going to kick it out of the end zone or too far for anybody to return the ball, and we're just going to accept the 30-yard line? But that's why I'm saying that penalty is, if you want to call it a penalty, is not enough.
Again, I'm not for changing the rules, altering the game where you start at the 35-yard line. So it's about a 10% decrease right now in terms of the number of kickoffs unreturned. Yep. And we're seeing enough of them that are returned that are close to breaking it still, because defenses are a little bit behind as to how to suddenly get moving after standing stationary for the kick.
Have the kickoffs affected you at all, Chris, as far as watching a game, or is it just like I expect most of them to come out to the 30 and who cares?
They prevent me from napping because I have to watch the game. Dante Johnson's going to play. Isn't he the guy on Philadelphia, one of the 3?
You caught me off guard. I'm not sure. Was he not supposed
to? I get him mixed up.
Deontay Johnson is on a completely different team. Lane Johnson is the offensive lineman.
Well, that's the Eagles. Yeah, that's the OT. Yeah.
I kept seeing it scroll by, and nobody said what team the guy's on, and I knew there was a guy on, Johnson on the Eagles that they were waiting to hear on.
So I want to get your thoughts on the 3-0 and 0-3 teams and where we stand right now. We got 5 teams who are perfect in the win column, and 3 at 0-3. Is that the story for the year for those 8 teams, or are we looking at something in your mind saying, hey, that's just not right, and things are going to turn around?
All 5 3-0 teams are on the road this week, which is kind of a coincidence. So it makes things interesting from that standpoint.
Yeah.
0-3 is obviously not a good look, especially for Cincinnati, who has playoff aspirations. But the teams that are 3-0 they're not taking anything for granted. We know Pittsburgh has a very tough closing schedule. We know Minnie has a bunch of divisional rivals. That whole division is completely up for grabs. Kansas City is winning ugly, but they're probably in good shape. They're getting, they're going to be fine. Buffalo, a big game with Baltimore that we'll talk about, and then Seattle. Every game counts. They're not counting the fact that they're in the playoffs right now. If we talk a little bit about Seattle, we could talk about what quarterbacks they faced so far, and then what quarterback they're going to face this week. So all 5-0 all 3-0 teams, they're not taking anything for granted.
Yeah, and the 0-3 teams, well, two of them are just embarrassing, but Cincinnati, I'm not sure what to expect from them the rest of the year. That thing could implode, although they are good enough to turn things around. Anytime you have Joe Burrow, of course, that helps.
Well, we'll talk about that game. Well, I've got a really good stat on that Bengals game.
Okay.
When we get to that one. We want to hit this Giants-Dallas game?
Yeah, let's talk Thursday night football. Cowboys at the Giants, and 5.5 points. Is that what it is right now, guys?
It's 5.5.
Okay.
And 45.
Okay. Well, normally I would say this would be a run. I'm just taking the dog because there's value at home, but it's the Giants, and it's Danny Peso, so I have no idea where you stand on this.
Where I stand on it, if I had more trust in the New York Giants, that would be the side I would take. This is the first time, apparently, that Dallas has gone on the road for a Thursday game after a Sunday game. Some stat came out that was pretty interesting. Yeah. The Giants have been owned by Dallas. I mean, Dallas has come into their building and really kicked them around, and the scores haven't always been close. But you get a different vibe about Dallas this year, that something's not right. And mostly what's not right is their roster isn't good enough. I saw a quote from, of all people, Mike Florio, who I don't quote very much because we have differences in our styles. But let me just say he hit it right on the head, where Jerry Jones thinks that the offseason started on Labor Day. Okay. And really, the offseason starts a long time before that, and he was so behind the eight ball, he's made this into a very one-dimensional offense. The Giants are still vulnerable. They've allowed 14 defensive sacks, I believe. They allowed 85 the year before. So actually, let me take that back. I think the Giants have 14 sacks.
Yeah, they had 8 sacks last week against Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So let me flip that around. The Giants are showing signs of life, but the one thing they haven't done is beat the top 2 in their division, and this is an excellent opportunity for them. I just don't know that I could pull the trigger because they've just laid down so many times against Dallas.
Yeah, but there is a thought here that maybe their defense is coming along, and they can actually do something at home in this early season game and make a statement that we're going to be in games. And I think that's really important for them, whatever their offense does, as long as they don't get blown out. And I think, the offensive line for Dallas is not what they had hoped it would be. And we've seen them go to a downward spiral over the last couple of years after one of the great offensive lines in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only thing that seems obvious is how can you not back a team coming off an average of negative 16.5 points over the last 2 games and lay almost a touchdown on the road? I mean, that's the perfect situation that you want to have as a bettor, isn't it?
You get value. You're supposedly getting value that way, but the Giants aren't exactly the most public team in the world, even though I thought the line was short lately. There's a particular, I'm looking at my number. Yeah, there's a particular stat out there that I'm not going to give the variables on it, but it heavily favors the dog in this game.
Yeah, so, but do you guys think the line is correct though, as far as you're concerned?
My numbers say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, what are you leaning, Chris?
Relatively, I'd say maybe a slight. I think the Giants have slight value.
No.
Chris disagrees, but that's good. I mean, disagreement.
My
we can't always agree.
trends kick the crap out of your trends, and we can't even talk about them. We'll
Can
argue.
Can you guys still hear me? Because my picture is gone.
Yeah, we can hear you. We see your picture, and we're just going to have a side battle of trends. Chris and I are just going to battle it out in the trends, which are really like 1/3 of the handicapping. It's really just a small part of it, but still.
Okay, well, I listened to I forced myself to listen to a little bit of an interview yesterday on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas with Jerry Jones as a guest as he's running to the airport, I think it was. And Jerry was talking about how, we're just not quite doing what we want to do, but we're still good and there's no concern and blah, blah, blah. He was sounding like a GM who didn't want to discuss any of the issues that he didn't take care of during the offseason. But Rod said, hey, can you find me some good Jerry Jones sound? And I think this will work because he wasn't even sure who they faced last week. Let's hear this.
Well, I think the underperforming can mean two things. Statistically, we're getting beat. That's what we're doing. It's not from a lack of effort. You saw us really with our backs against the wall out there in the fourth quarter the other day, and really did not in any way accept that the outcome that we were going to lose that game. That's encouraging to see. You want that in your team. We were playing a team that was a Super Bowl team last year. Went to the Super Bowl and had lost the first two games. They stuck to what they do best. They came in here, their quarterback, their run game, all of that worked against a team and us that are still got to put it together. But that's what this game is. That's what it's about.
Okay, well, I looked it up, and the last time I looked it up like 45 times, and Baltimore did not go to the Super Bowl last year. But that's okay. They lost to a Super Bowl team last week. Whatever. I mean, he's an older guy. We always give him the benefit of the doubt on that stuff. But that's the guy who's running your team, guys. That's your GM. That's the one who makes the decisions. And it's been a long time since they've been a playoff winner.
And we're not even going to bring up the other videotape and audio of his other quote from last week. I'm glad you didn't go with the theme of the first.
No, because that's old news already.
I know.
But anyway, your thoughts on the Cowboys and where they potentially can go this year. I mean, let's face it. This is the kind of game. If they lose tonight, I think they're done. I think their playoff hopes are done.
No, they're not done.
They're not done. They're statistically, they would actually be in a good situation if they lost this game, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, maybe for the following week. Look at their schedule coming up. You tell me how that looks. They got a tough schedule coming up after this.
I'm more interested in what Chris sees after 3 weeks, because Chris, you kind of start your rollover and your metrics and your model after 3 weeks, whereas I wait to 4. What are you seeing good out of the Cowboys after 3 weeks?
Well, the reason why they have a chance is there's 16 teams in their conference. 8 of them are 1-2. So a few more wins have gone over to the AFC than the NFC. So that keeps them alive just with that alone.
Yeah, check their schedule out, though. I think if they lose tonight, there's a decent chance they could have they could be like a 3-6 start, though, something like that.
And what did the hard schedule do for Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh's 3-0. The strength of schedule means nothing. You don't know what situations you're going to run into.
I totally disagree. Strength of schedule means a lot.
There's just so many variables.
We don't know what strength of schedule is the first 3 weeks. That's the difference. We don't know what strength is until we know it. But strength of schedule means a ton. When
it depends what quarterback you're facing and so on. Like Miami was without Tua last week. So anybody who played Miami week 3, it's different than the teams who played Miami week 1 and 2 when their power rating was in a different number. So it's all changes week to week to week.
Right. And I see City by the Bay talks about the and by the way, yes, the Panthers they are in trouble. But the rush D, but how about the rush O for Dallas? If they can't get a run game,
They don't have any.
Exactly. And where's it going to come from? It's not coming from Zeke. They can't turn the clock back. It's over for him.
Yeah, that's what I worry about with Dallas. But you asked Ron, the model indicates there's value with Dallas.
Tonight?
It's still a little early, so take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But that's about it that I have on the game. When you look at a game like this, it's so painful to be able to bet Dallas, and they've been, as I said, they're losing against the spread by over 16 points.
Yeah,
and these recent games, and they're going on the road. They're laying almost a touchdown in a divisional rivalry. And the Giants showed signs of life last week. So what's the most painful bet that you can make? Dallas minus the points.
How about the unders tonight, though, guys? A team in the Giants that's playing well defensively, and a Dallas team that's decent defensively still, better than that, against Danny Dimes. I think this leans towards the under, sort of an old school NFC East game.
I don't have any feeling on that because I disagree that the Giants are playing good defensively. But I will say the game hinges on Dallas's pass protection. And the reason I say that is because the Giants have shown more ability to get to the quarterback. And we know Dallas can't run the ball, but they can pass the ball if they have enough time. And the issue is Dallas is going to have problems against teams that defend the pass pretty well because Dallas is so one-dimensional because they didn't address their run game. But in this situation, I think it's okay that Dak Prescott throws the ball 35 to 40 times because he's going against a very weak New York Giants secondary. So if Chris is right and Dallas wins by margin, it's because Dallas's offensive line kept Dak relatively clean. If the Giants pull the upset, it's because maybe the Dallas run defense couldn't get off the field, but also it's because Dak didn't have enough time.
Right. And when I mentioned about the Giants defense playing well, I'm mostly talking about their D line has been really, really outstanding. The rest is a whole different story.
Do they have a good pass rush? How good is their pass rush?
Not bad, and they added Brian Burns, so this is an area that's improved. And like Ted said, the secondary is really weak, so they have to get home. Yep.
All right. Anything else on tonight's game?
The away team total is, oh boy, that's pricey though. You got to lay minus 23.5 over minus 155.
23.5 is fair.
Yeah, because 24 is a really key number.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that.
But you got to lay the 150, so that's probably the right side. You got to bet the pain points.
You got to have at least a 3 out of 5 feeling that that's going to hit, because that's, if it's 3 out of 5, you're actually not going to win at minus 155. You've got to be higher than that.
I reached my pain point. We spent way too much time talking about the New York previously football Giants. Let's get into your games, Ron. You got a couple of games you want to feature this week.
Well, there's one that I wanted to talk more about that Chris and I just barely touched upon, and that's mini against Green Bay.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to touch upon it more for the people who didn't see the Tuesday show especially is that it's really two different kinds of handicapping for this game. If Jordan Love is the quarterback, it's a whole different story about how he might handle Brian Flores' blitz package. If Malik Willis is in the game, you're talking about a guy who's going to run, I think, 10 or more times. And he's not going to see the first receiver open. He's only been in the league. He's only started a couple of games at most. So you're talking about a completely different style of play. And that's why I say I'm not ready to I'm getting ready to handicap this game, but I see two different outcomes. Sure, if Jordan Love plays, you have to lay the points with Green Bay. And if Jordan Love is announced out, that game may go to pick 'em. But which are you more comfortable with? Are you comfortable with Malik Williams against the Brian
Willis,
Flores rush?
Right.
Or are you comfortable that you're laying more points and you're hoping that Jordan Love doesn't turn the ball over or isn't rusty upon this 2 weeks off with an injury?
I think one of the things that's really shown brightly so far has been the coaching of LaFleur. I think the way he has used his team into the new season with a backup, unproven anything quarterback and kept it clean tells you a lot about how he handles a quarterback. And it's been really, really impressive. And I watched a little of the game from last week. The first pass from scrimmage, the first play from scrimmage was a 30-yard completion by Willis. It's like, what? Where did that come from? But, the guy was wide open, and it was one of those things. They're maneuvering the line around. I like what they're doing so far. I would not expect to see Jordan Love play this week.
You don't think Love's going to play?
No, I don't. He's limited practice with the knee thing. I just think they probably wait one more. Remember, this was supposed to be 3 to 6 weeks. This is 3 weeks. I think it'd be, I'm not there. I'm not the doctor. I haven't seen the x-rays, but my guess is I give him another week to heal because you don't want to mess with that kind of an injury where you could re-injure it. A knee thing.
Well, I'm going to have to give you a kick in the nuts because I think he's going to play.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's going to play too because it's a divisional game. They still, they got a couple of wins, and prevailing wisdom agrees with you, Ted, that they got a couple of wins. You could sit them one more time, but they're not in first place in the division.
No, I get it.
Mini is.
I
and
know.
So if they lose this game, they're 2 games behind, plus they lose a home game to Mini. So suddenly this is a pretty important game, even though in the reality of things, there's so many more games left. The season's not going to be decided by this.
Of course. But here's my question for you, though, Ron. What is your thought on the mini rush D? Because I think that's the key to this game. The Packers are leading the league in rush yards. Okay, they got over 600 yards in 3 games. A lot of that is Willis, but Josh Jacobs too. What are your thoughts on that? Are they playing well enough defensively on the rush?
They are playing above expectation on the rush, above my expectation, because when you all out blitz, like Flores tends to do at a record rate, you're susceptible to, misdirection plays, draws, quarterback escaping the pocket, all those kinds of things. So I don't think it's sustainable what Minnie's doing, but clearly they're better than advertised in that area. I'm not sure. It hinges on the rush if Jordan Love doesn't play. But if Jordan Love plays, it doesn't hinge on the rush, in my opinion.
Right.
Here's a simple question. Who's the better team?
Well, I think the Packers are the proven better team. It's too early to say for sure who is. Look, we could talk about Sam Darnold for the rest of our lives, and that's what we're going to need until we finally evaluate him, because you just don't trust that he's going to be accurate. And when he is, that's great. And when he's not, that's Sam. So, but they've done a great job too, Minnesota, in keeping him just not trying to do too much. Try not to throw the dumb gamble pass. And when he's clean, he's good.
Fascinating question, because I'm not sure I know who's better, Minnesota or Green Bay.
No, we don't know. I mean, it's early.
But I should have an opinion on that based on power ratings and so on, but the power rating circled right now, so I don't know. I would say, it's a good question. I would say a fully healthy Jordan Love puts Green Bay a point ahead of Minnesota.
Right. That makes sense. And good point, Dan Rivera. I didn't think about my old buddy Aaron Jones is back against his old team, and that'll be fun to watch. Aaron's an absolutely great guy. And, it was just the timing and the money situation for the team that it was just time to move on. And they've done a pretty good job so far in bringing in Josh Jacobs. The question is, how long is he going to stay healthy? because that's been an issue for him.
So, Chris, how are you approaching this game?
Well, I think Minnesota's clearly the better team. They're defensively extremely solid, wreaking havoc on the opponents. Flores it's not a fluke. I mean, that's how he got his head coaching job. He was a great defensive coordinator before, and he's doing a great job here. You've got Aaron Jones, you've got Addison, you've got Jefferson, you've got a nice offense. You just need the quarterback to be adequate, and I think I think they're the better team.
So it's a kind of a buy low situation still based on the odds. If you like Minnesota, and somebody did say, maybe it was City, about teasing the Vikings. So that probably falls into one of your categories as far as teasing. If you think you have the better team and you can move it up over a touchdown, it does make it interesting from that standpoint. This will be a good barometer for where Minnie is, I think.
I think you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I looked up the teasers for Minnesota because I agree. The profitable teasers in this situation are from the 2, 2.5, and the 3, believe it or not.
Okay.
6, 7, and 10-point teasers are good. And believe it or not, even from the 3.5, the 10-pointer is no good for some reason. And from the 4, all 3 of them are good. So I definitely am getting. I like the Minnesota side. You're just scaring the crap out of me, Sobel. Because if they announce Love out, it's going to take a teaser to get back to this number.
Well, do it early. Either way, you like him. So, right? You still like him against a Love coming back who's not 100%, or probably not. Anyway. TBD there. The one thing about Sam Darnold that we don't talk enough about, and this is all we're going to talk about anymore on this game, but Sam Darnold is in the best situation he has been since being drafted, and it's not even close. When he was with the Jets, they were a joke, okay? Yeah. And when he moved on, Carolina was a joke, and he was a backup after that. So I'm not saying he's going to turn out to be the wonderful number 1 pick that everybody hoped he would be. But if he plays reasonably clean, he still has a lot of talent. And let's see, this is his best shot with also the way Brian Flores is showing defense here. I mean, that's been phenomenal thus far.
I agree with everything you said.
Me too.
In terms of Darnold, as far as this situation, I'll just add this one word of caution. By NFL starting quarterback accuracy standards, yes, he would be in the lower third.
Absolutely.
Not only career-wise, but even this year, if you take out the rookie quarterbacks, he would be in the bottom third. He doesn't have the kind of NFL accuracy that can carry a team. So he's got to hope everything you said is that he doesn't have to carry this team.
Right. But you know what? I'll take a little less accuracy as long as he keeps it clean and doesn't throw it away. I'll take a little of that, and they'll be fine because they got a good enough team to overcome a little less accuracy. Anyway, what's your other game, Ron?
Well, it's Baltimore and Buffalo because it's a fascinating game. There's going to be a lot of, and Chris and I have had this conversation already. There's reasons to like Baltimore and there's reasons to like Buffalo, but it makes it another fascinating game because just like mini Green Bay, this is a barometer game. Yep. Where does Baltimore stand? They think they're still one of the 3-4 best teams, and they may very well be that. But if they lose this game, they're 1-3, and suddenly they're looking up at a lot of teams in the stacked AFC. Whereas Buffalo can win this game and make an early statement that they are the best team in the AFC. Yes, there's Kansas City, but Buffalo has won more impressively. Buffalo deserves perhaps the highest power rating in the NFL right now. It's a road game. They haven't played each other that much, but it's a fascinating chess match here because if Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, it's hard to beat Buffalo.
Yeah, and I love what Josh Allen is doing, and how can you not? I mean, the guy just looks so all-world. He does a little bit of everything. Threw to 10 different receivers last week, and one of them was not Stephon Diggs, if anybody wasn't watching. So, you know what? That tells you a lot, that you don't necessarily need a one receiver. You need a bunch of 1As and two A's that'll do the job. And they have enough talent to get it done. How about the stat that Joe Brady and Josh Allen together are 9-1? That's pretty impressive stuff.
I'm more impressed with what Allen's not doing, and that's throwing picks. He's always leading the league in picks.
Of course,
he hasn't thrown one yet. He's leading the league in touchdowns.
Yep.
The whole team is morphed into something different. They look pretty strong.
Yeah, one way to save him from throwing touchdowns is just score 40 in the first half, and then you're benched for the second half, and your stats will look great. Do that every week. So what are your thoughts on the spread? It's what, 2.5?
Yeah, it's 2.5. This is like a sweet spot spread for Jackson. We saw last week he went into that game against NFC teams 15 or 16-1, and he won.
Right.
And his record as less than a 3-point favorite or an underdog is almost that good. Okay. So it's absolutely absurd. So I hate to, between that stat and another stat where they're facing a team, Buffalo is averaging an absurd amount of points above the spread.
Right. And
the trend is just ridiculous in favor of Baltimore and two more teams.
So is anything under a
Green Bay is actually one of them. So it's because Minnesota's in the same boat. So
right.
But the model clearly has, in anybody's model, Buffalo number one.
Right.
I don't know how you can have Baltimore favored at home. It just doesn't make any sense logically with what we've seen.
So you're ready to take anything as long as if they're giving points, I'm taking it.
I have no choice. I mean, it's
okay. Well, you have a choice to not play it.
No, I have no choice. This is the career path I have chosen.
Truer words have never been said.
We love that about you, Cris.
I'm like one of those Twilight Zones where I'm living in this globe and I can't get out, and I'm forced to mandatorily auto bet.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. What do you think, Ron?
That is the nature of the business, though.
Yes.
Is that there are certain automatics, like if I see somebody who's power rated 2.5 points in the NFL, different than my number, it's an underdog, it's an auto bet. It may not be a 3-star bet, but it'll be barring any other matchup things that favor the other team or situational things. And there are a lot of situational things that are going to happen this year because of the weird scheduling. But if none of that is there, it is an auto bet whenever you have that power rating difference, or in Chris's model differences. So we have auto bets in our system, whether we like it or not.
No, but is this an auto bet for you today?
No, it would be an auto bet Buffalo +3 for me.
That's what I thought you would say. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Bertie hit the nail on the head here. Is
oh yeah, I like that.
There you go.
If I don't bet the game and Baltimore takes that 10-point lead, you know where I'm going.
Should I call you minutes before halftime, Ron, to make sure you're paying attention?
Yeah, you probably should.
We know Jackson and Baltimore fold in the second half, but it's the inverse. Allen is known for doing well in the second half. So
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you mentioned interceptions with Allen, but it's also fumbles when he tries to do too much to get that first down on 3rd and 8 and he's scrambling. I assume that he's going to be throwing his body, caution to the winds, to try to get this in what is a marquee standalone Sunday night game. So that it makes it fascinating, the fact that we're going to get these teams' best effort
How about the OU here, though? The way Buffalo is scoring, it almost feels like 46.5 is a little low, but what are you expecting against the Baltimore D?
I'm going to defer to Cris because I think just like Buffalo's scoring output, you get regression to the mean a lot of times with these kinds of situations.
I wanted to look up something, and while I'm looking it up,
Please do.
how many quarterbacks have a 70% completion percentage or higher?
6.
Nope.
Well, I didn't think I'd be exact.
I would say 4.
9.
What?
Yeah. I knew it was on the high side because we have some amazingly high pass defense percentage. We have a lot of 70% pass defenses right now. So
yeah, that's true.
Quarterbacks had to be taken advantage. That's what you get in a 3-game sample size.
Yep.
Pat Mahomes is 10th at 69.6.
Bench him.
All right.
What do you got, Ted? What games you got?
Well, let's go first with the Rams at the Bears. It's one of those games where, you're coming off a high for LA, and it's going to be interesting to see how that affects them when they're still, just because they won, they're still not healthy offensively going into a road situation where the Bears defense is playing very, very well. My biggest concern for the Rams is not that they're overconfident, because they're not going to be, but just the fact that can they do it again back-to-back weeks? Smoke and mirrors time last week. Everything fell their way. All the Niners dropped passes, and the way things changed in the second half, and they took advantage of everything was great. Kyron Williams came on. His running game was really, really good. I think he was close to 90 yards, I believe. He had 3 touchdowns in the game, 2 of them on the ground, 1 through the air. There's a great aura about this Rams team, even though they don't have a lot of their playmakers right now, obviously, without Puka and Cooper Kupp. And so I just don't know what to expect to see them hit the road like this.
Go, Cris.
I think that it was an incredibly emotional game. There was a little tussle at the end of it, wasn't there? And
no, there was nothing.
I think there was a little tussle between the teams at the end.
You know what? If that happened, I was in the elevator at the time, so I didn't see it. Nobody talked about it afterwards, so I have no idea. It wasn't.
Don't you have press parking? Why are you leaving early?
I didn't leave. I had to go down to the press. I had to go down to the room so I can get you sound.
Oh, all right.
I wasn't leaving. I had to leave to the press, to the dressing rooms. Look, bottom line is, I think the Rams are in a much better spot right now at 1-2 than they would be at 0-3, as Josh Carty admitted to. Let's hear from Jordan Whittington, the receiver of the Rams, who had 3 catches in this last game. And I asked him about what that upset win meant.
Being down the way you were, considering, I mean, you did it absolutely the hardest way possible, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, at the same time, games aren't decided in the first half or the third quarter, just decided at the end when the clock hit 0. And we showed that today and just played all the way through.
What does it tell you about the guys?
Here?
Yeah.
Resilient, baby. We ready to play, always ready to go. And it ain't over until it's over.
Resilient is like an understatement. You know that, right?
Yeah.
That's a good
Resilient, thing. Persevering, all that, man. Just always ready, always prepared, and I'm just ready to move on to the next week now.
I know, but it's so important not to be 0-3 and to feel like now you got a lot to play for, right?
I mean, to me, how I was raised, how I was brought up, every game, every piece of adversity, every week is the most important week.
Got it.
So I think we just have a lot of guys that are cut from that same cloth. So when you have that and you mix it together, then you can make magical things happen.
Enjoy it, man.
I appreciate it.
Well, there you go, Jordan Whittington, really good guy too. Very likable by the team and by the media. He's one of those guys who might have to come up big this week because of their situation for lack of receivers. Ron's smiling about something. I don't know what he's smiling
about. No, I just, part of I get that the Rams are feeling good,
Right.
But part of it
They
is
should.
matchup analysis, not even looking at the situation like Cris mentioned, emotional game off San Francisco and so on. But if you really look at the matchup analysis, the stat sheet so far after 3 games, where a team's strong and where a team's weaker, it's not a good matchup for the Rams. The Rams aren't getting to opposing quarterbacks, which this time Caleb's going to have a little bit more time in the pocket than he has had recently. The Rams secondary, we know that there's a bunch of youngsters there that are still finding their way. It's not necessarily a bad secondary, but they're not playing to even my expectations right now. There are just some areas with the Rams and their stat sheet that spell danger in this situation.
Okay, but the one guy that might be the difference if he continues to do what he's been doing is the running back. And Kyron Williams, if he can have another solid game and they can mix it up, because they will have to do that in this game, then that's the case. And let's hear from Kyron Williams after he scored 3 TDs against the Niners.
For me, I don't really try to get too excited. I really try to stay even keeled, because I know when you get excited and you start expecting things, those things don't come. And so I knew however much time was left on the clock, that we still could have been a chance that we had to go out there and still play ball and still go win this game. So for me, I was telling my guys, just calm down. The game is not all the way over yet. We still got to come out here. If we do come on the field, we still got to win this game. So that was a message.
How about the way you won this game, though? And it was very unlikely considering how many guys you had available, who you played. How does it rank up there in games that you found a way to win?
I think these are the games where, you bring just a little bit more juice. These are the games where you can't wait to play when everybody's doubting you and there's no way the Rams are going to win. The way the Rams are going to start 0-3 in the season, we're not listening to that stuff. I think that's the type of things that, we feel for sure, but it's something that it fuels us. It keeps me, it keeps me going, honestly. I wouldn't let my guys down the way that, kind of the last 2 weeks it went. I wasn't going to let that happen again this week, and I just knew, just my 1/11th, I had to do it all the way to the ends.
Well, the only thing Kyra didn't say there was, "Hey, Ron, it's about the doubters, baby, and you're doubting them this week." So anyway.
Well,
yeah, I would have liked to have seen you ask him. You came in pretty weak ass. You were averaging like 2.5 yards per carry. What goes through your mind when you're doing that poorly?
Oh, yeah, that would have been a perfect question after that win. You don't care if they never speak to me again.
Ted, you're right. His running, the Rams like to force feed their running backs. So the Rams are going to try to get him 20 to 25 carries again.
Absolutely.
But Chicago's been about league average versus the run, but they've been above league average defensively, both this year and as they were gaining momentum once they got healthy last year. So I see the Bears as the better overall defensive team. And there's other situational factors that lead me to Chicago being the winning side in this game.
Okay. I see Dan and Ron having a conversation about little Blake Corum, who is about this on me at about 5'7" I saw him at his locker, by the way, on Sunday, and I walked up to him just to say hi, and I say, "So when the hell are you going to get to touch the ball?" He said, "I don't know, hopefully soon." So it might be this week, potentially. Hey, he's back in Big Ten country, right? Why not?
It's possible.
So, breaking news, the Tigers won again. It's just unbelievable. I was going to wear my Detroit Tigers jersey, too. I feel
Detroit, aren't they famous for pizza?
They are, Detroit pizza.
Exactly.
But I'm glad I don't have to bet this game. I need this game to land on 3 because I kept buying 2.5, 3. So hopefully it lands on 3. That's all I've got. Ron, anything?
Yeah. It's pretty well known out there that Chicago is a team that needs to win this game.
But are they capable?
You laid the lumber.
Okay.
I laid it. The games of the year line was -1.
I was going to say, you got in early, so you got a value there.
Oh, I had value the second week as well, and I went 1-2 with my value. So value doesn't give you a win, but
you want
it's nice to have it in hand in a game that you like even a little bit more now than you did then.
By the way, Mr. Backup now is he was finally in uniform last week. Jimmy G for the Rams is now available. Might also be available in the trade market. I'm hearing a little birdie telling me that maybe Miami might be very interested in Jimmy G.
Ooh, that would be a nice landing spot.
Yeah, and he would actually play too. But, that's TBD. In the meantime, one last thing on this game. Sean McVay had 5 words to say, key 5 words after the last game. First of all, the first 2 words, he walked into the press room and he said, "Holy shit," like he was shocked that they won that game. And the other one was, "No new injuries." And he was thrilled about that, right? They actually got out of that game really, really good in the injury department, which is just huge.
So that's your transition to your next game about no new injuries.
Yeah. Now the other game is a lot of old injury. The Chargers home to the Chiefs. I'm planning on being there. You got the Chargers have so many, and 13 guys on the injury report. Derwin James is suspended. The quarterback is who the hell knows what. Is there any news on him today, Justin Herbert, that he's breathing? I have no idea. I haven't heard anything on him.
I'm going to check right now, but the latest is he keeps on saying he wants to play.
Well, yeah, wants to play. I want to play too, but I'm too old, so it doesn't matter. Look, if he's in a walking boot again after that last game, and what Harbaugh said in the third and fourth quarter, about the third and fourth quarter, he said, if I see that limp coming back, he's out of there. And he was, and the limp was pretty bad. I can't believe that ankle sprain is going to be good enough for this week, but we'll see. Otherwise, Taylor Heineke, baby.
Yeah, not a bad backup, actually.
Yeah, not bad.
He's proven himself in the league. The bigger issue for me is Joe Alt out of the game, possibly another offensive lineman out of the game.
Yep.
Their most instinctive defensive player, Derwin James, suspended for the game, suspension upheld. Their rookie linebacker, who's very intuitive in his own right, Junior Colston, probably not playing. I don't know what the status is of Joey Bosa, but even if he plays, he's not 100%. It's all hit at once for the Chargers.
The receiver Josh Palmer's banged up too. He was limited in practice. So they got so many issues. Remember what I said 2 weeks ago? Maybe it was 3 weeks ago. Now I'm losing track. Anyway, it was 3 weeks. When I was leaving the Chargers locker room at the same time Joey Bosa was, and we had a brief little chat. And the last thing he said to me when I said, just stay healthy, Joey, he says, from your lips to God's ears, I guess God wasn't listening. He got the hip issue, and
you jinxed him.
Doesn't go away. I think he played 1 snap last week.
I think there's an interesting dynamic here when you've got coaches of this caliber facing off.
Yeah.
This is going to be a divisional rivalry between the two coaches for the foreseeable future. And I don't know what you think, Ron, but I would think that Andy Reid typically isn't the type of person that's going, if they get out to a big lead, he never, tries to blow out a team anyway. So they'll grind clock. They don't care about getting separation. And I think that they would, considering they wouldn't want to give Harbaugh any reasons to be, pissed off. It would be different if the Chargers were healthy, but if you kick a dog when he's down, I don't think Andy Reid's that type of person. So I kind of feel like the Chargers are going to benefit that way a little bit. You think I'm on anything there?
I don't know. I can't read too much into it. I just think style-wise, these games have been shootouts in the past. And as I wrote in the NFL preview, look for unders with the Chargers this year, not only in yards passing, but in totals. And they've gone under the total each of the first 3 weeks. And when is the last time you saw a Mahomes game lined around 39.5 or 40 for a whole game? I mean, it's really ridiculous and crazy, but the Chargers are a much better tackling team right now. They're going to be tested with some of their stars out. I understand the comment about Reid, and they don't win by margin anyway. The problem is Mahomes has publicly said he can do better. And if he gets in rhythm, he's going to try to milk that for as much as he can.
Right.
I don't know if he can get in rhythm because the Chargers are going to be a different defensive team than Kansas City has faced in the past. Fascinating game. I'm really not involved. I think it's come down a little from 8-7.
Oh, has it?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. Well, I got two keys that I'm looking at here, and one of them, Ron, fill us in on the Kansas City run D, because this is about two letters, J and K. And if Dobbins carries the ball several hundred times in this game, along with his buddy Gus Edwards, that's the key to me. They're going to try and run this thing. Can they do it against KC?
Well, there's no change in Casey's run defense. It's always kind of in the D+ range. You can run on them, but teams usually get away from the run. The reason why they get away from the run is because Mahomes is putting up points on the other side, and so it changes the dynamic. If teams stick to that mantra, I really wish that the Chargers were at full strength for this game, because then we'd really see, because Jim Harbaugh is not going to change and suddenly pass 40 times in this game when he sees a power run attack like he did at Michigan, even with San Francisco and here. He's going to try to exploit that, shorten the game. So that's his path to competing in this game, because the Chargers are so short-manned in this game. It's crazy.
Okay, Jay-Z, you're right. Not several hundred, maybe just dozens of times. Okay. Anyway, the other key I'm looking at, a breakout game this week, considering the defense for the Chargers and what's going on. Take the value on over catches for Travis Kelce in this game.
Okay, you heard it here first. Ted's giving out a prop.
Yep.
What's the number?
It's going to be the lowest it'll ever be this year, considering he hasn't done much yet. Take advantage of it. This is the game where he should be thrown to in the middle of the field often.
I haven't really checked props this early in the week. I'm a couple weeks away from really getting into it. I don't know if they have numbers on him yet because of the uncertainty of Herbert. They tend not to put up anything.
Okay. Well, okay. But still, I mean, that Herbert doesn't throw the ball to him.
FanDuel has it over 4.5 minus 152.
Okay, there you go. So take the overs. I don't like the juice, but whatever.
That's one of those props that everybody seems to be talking about, though. It seems to be kind of like the obvious one.
Oh, that's too bad. I'm trying to come up with something different here.
I'll go back to the well. Okay,
well, the well is drying. I tell you. Anyway, that's the story on my two games. I think that it's great. What was the over the line itself early in the season? The future line on that, do you know? Because that would tell you a lot more than what this line is now, considering the storyline.
Whatever it was going to be reduced anyway because of the way the first three games played out for the Chargers.
Right, but about a pick-em, I'm talking about before the season. Would this be about a pick-em game?
No, KC would have been probably a good 3 points anyway.
Oh, that much? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And as we all know, there's no such thing as a home field advantage for the Chargers anyway.
Yeah, and then that's part of the handicap.
Right.
I would say 3 with juice or 3.5 would have been the look ahead in August.
Right. Any other thoughts on this game, guys?
Actually, I could look it up for you.
Okay, please do.
I just happen to have it handy. How did that happen? 3.5, 46.5.
Okay, and it opened. Let's see, and now it's 39.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big difference, isn't it? Oh.
Well, if it's Herbert or not Herbert, it matters.
No, I know.
Although Taylor Heineke plays some high-scoring games because he contributes to both sides.
Exactly. Any other standout games you guys want to bring up here before we wrap things up?
Let's see. I just found out this morning that there's an interesting situation with the Falcons, and because of the replacement center, he's left-handed. So that's something that he and Cousins have to work on. And then you've got the same situation with the Saints. You already have the starting center out, and you might have the backup center out.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. I haven't thought about a left-handed center in a while. I don't know how often.
There's a superstar left-handed center. Can you name him?
No, I don't know who's left-handed.
Well, we just covered the game. Creed Humphrey.
Oh, okay.
Of Kansas City. It's possibly the reason he was left alone to be drafted 63rd or 64th, back end of the second round, when I had him as a first round grade. I didn't care if he was left-handed or right-handed. Just get the ball to the quarterback. He'll figure it out.
Right. So does Baker Mayfield stay upright this week and actually show that he's better than last week? Was embarrassing, obviously, but stuff happens.
You've got some serious revenge here. Tampa Bay humiliated them in the divisional or in the wild card playoffs.
Right.
And they're dinged up a lot, but I have to imagine Philadelphia has had this one on the calendar for a while.
Yeah. With Tampa's loss and the way they lost, I think Tampa's looking inward, and it probably helps Tampa a little bit to say, hey, wait a second, we're not on this high pedestal anymore. We've got to play every game, and we've got to come to play every game.
Absolutely.
So that's good for Tampa, and Philly should absolutely be thinking about what happened the last time they played Tampa. And if they want to be considered more than just a favorite in their own division, which isn't that great a division, if they want to be considered seriously in the NFC, they have to win this kind of game.
And look for the Sirianni spiral to continue to go downward. So I'm always a little leery of what's going on with the Eagles because I absolutely don't trust them. And by the way, how about the Dogs so far this year? Are you guys? I know Ron is Mr. Underdog. You got to be thrilled with the stats on the underdogs this season so far, huh?
You don't want me to complain, do you?
No, if you do, you're insane. It's 14-2 against the spread, 10-6 straight up, 5-5 at teams that are 5.5 or more dogs.
Yeah,
great stat.
I mean, there's going to be a correction. There's always in-season corrections, no matter what happens. So it's nice when it lasted, but 3-week trends are just 3-week trends.
But how much of that?
That's why you have to be careful with teasers early in the season.
Yeah,
there's just way too much variance.
Yeah, but the fact that it's the first 3 weeks, I think gives you a little. I would rather go with the dog because a lot of times favorites there's either A, an overreaction, or B, they're just overbet because of last year, not this year. And so in that respect, there's value on the dogs early.
But we're coming to the end of your favorite term, Ted, the end of the first quartile. And then
I love that word.
And then coaches will readjust and do things, again, we're all sticking to what we've learned or what we know about this team, and it's stuck in our head. But after 4 weeks, you have to unstick it, so to speak.
Yeah.
Here's something usually, and we've talked about this in the past, if you have a bye this early in the season, that's really early. And there's not a whole lot of teams that normally would want to bye this early. But I think all 4 teams are happy to go into the bye at this point after this week. Do you think – I can't see a reason in the world any of them would want to play next week needlessly.
Tell us the teams again who have buys next week.
You got Philadelphia. They're completely dinged up, a little bit off kilter. You've got the Chargers. That's self-explanatory. New head coach.
They could use the bye now.
And you've got Tennessee, new coach. Can't seem to get anything going. They need a little adjustment. And if the Lions come on strong, maybe that's a little different, but they're very dinged up. They've got a lot of injuries, and it's a good time for them to get some rest also.
Yep, a good point.
Yeah, the first 3, absolutely, and 2 of them are new coaches. And then the Lions having a bye off on Monday night is a good thing as well. So absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And so this is week 4. But so next week, I'm thinking week 5, the Green Bay Packers are here in LA against the Rams. So that's the game that I'm predicting Jordan Love will come back for. Could be wrong. We'll find out. Again, I'm not the team trainer. I have no inside info, just guessing.
Well, I said I was going to give you a pretty cool stat.
Okay, please.
You would. This is an odd one. Cincinnati Bengals are 0-3 straight up and against the spread.
Yeah.
And they're over a field goal favorite still. On the road also, just like Dallas is. Crazy situation. They're getting the support. Teams in that situation, 23-4.
Wow. Great number. Great number. All right. So,
but we're going to carry this further.
Yeah.
They're 23-4
yes.
Against the spread, not just to win the game. And they'll cover an alternate line of -10.5. The previous teams, they've it's something like it was just like within one game of 500 of covering the alternate line. One of the games landed on 10. But here's the situation. You're getting 2-1. You're getting over 2-1 to play it. So it's like a huge, huge play on the alternate line also.
Very interesting. Well, bottom line is that Cincinnati better win. That's all I could say.
Well, they've been in these games. The defense is going to tighten up.
But there's issues going on offensively. Look, they don't have the run game anymore that they had before. Okay, Joe Mixon, they would kill to have him back right now. And separate from that, the O-line is just nothing. And like it was a few years ago, the way Burrow's got to be running all over the place. And the question is there a chemistry issue going on there right now? You got some pissed off receivers, and T. Higgins is back, but and Jamar Chase is back, but he's not happy. You don't know the dynamic is. That thing could implode, but just win, baby. If you win, then you can go back into the red rifle. I love the comment there. I know we didn't.
It's very common. Higgins came back last week, and it's really common when a player gets, his first game back from an injury, that it's kind of mediocre performance. So now he's going to be a little settled in.
It should be.
So I have no opinion on the game, but I can throw a little bit of, shade on it. Just asking you, how many times in that situation is the team, Cincinnati in this case, coming off a Monday night game?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a very good point. And how many of these situations do they get to play a team like Carolina?
Well, I mean, actually, that's probably common because 0-3 and to be favored by over 3, they must be playing a team like Carolina.
Yeah, well,
so
not
that
necessarily. It's how the schedule falls. But it helps to play another 0-3 team. Is all I'm saying.
They're not 0-3 though.
I guess I should comment on the Lions.
An 0-3-ish team.
I'm going to update the Lions situation. They lost Ragnow. He played.
Is he out for a long period?
No.
Well, yeah, he's out for a game. Remember, he played with a broken leg in college. He played with a broken throat last season.
He'll be back after the bye.
I mean, they must be pulling up the hearse today if he's not playing this week. So
yeah, that's not good.
That's a big miss. The Lions have a fair amount of players out, but they're so deep that they're still okay, but it's still cause for concern. And Seattle has beaten them at least 5 games in a row.
Yeah,
the last 3 years in a row, and the last year was definitely a revenge situation at home, and they couldn't win. So, and Seattle's head coach was the defensive coordinator for Baltimore last year, and we know what Baltimore did against the Lions. They just destroyed them by 30-plus points. There's a lot of things going against the Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Seattle reacts to this game. An extra day to prepare against a team that's banged up. And we're going to find out what Seattle's all. I mean, if they do it again, it's just impressive. Everything they've done so far is impressive, and what their coach is showing is a whole new era of Seattle. Just the way they're a new team, like literally a team. I just love what they're doing.
One of many, many good games this week. I really like the matchups this week, so looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
So the Lions just released their injury report. Laporta, no practice. Melifonwu, no practice. Ragnow, out. Dan Skipper, no practice. Brian Branch, defensive back, limited practice. McNeil, limited practice. Onwuzuki or whatever. And Anzalone. They're doing this to me on purpose. They got to quit drafting these people with all these crazy names.
Nobody said it was going to be easy, guys.
Jeez.
Should be a lot of fun this week, and even the Red Rifle might come alive again. You never know. I wonder if he's emptied all the bullets.
Anything else, guys?
That's
it.
That's
all I have.
Okay.
That's all.
Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.
Just cover, baby. Just cover.
Appreciate everybody joining us. Good luck this week, and Ron and I will be back on Tuesday, and the three of us will be back on Thursday.
Like it or not. See you then.